rotten? Yeah, big time.
Movies are stinky!
I guess in space you can't open a window, right?
Currently, in the 7th universe, more precisely on planet Earth, it was possible to see that the planet was in a time of peace, which was rare because not even humans were at war, which was a great surprise because of humans' instincts for conquest and the destructive nature they had against themselves. A mountain located on a small island that was around a cluster of islands began to shake thanks to an earthquake that was causing the mountain to crack as well as the island. But suddenly everything stopped, and the mountain simply exploded, causing several boulders to fly out in all directions, reaching some other islands that were close to that one. From the center of that mountain, it was possible to see that there was a large amount of dust coming out because of the previous explosion, but in the middle of that dust, it was possible to see a pink figure that was similar in size to a child or a young teenager. That being opened its eyes, revealing its black eyes with their reddish irises. The pink figure moved its body a little before moving forward and taking momentum towards the heavens, along with some dust. And when it reached the height of the clouds, all that dust disappeared, revealing who the being in question was, which in this case was Kid Buu, a great threat from the past who had now returned in some mysterious way. Kid Buu said, "Finally, I managed to return to this world, and now, unlike in the past, I am more aware of my own actions, and I'm not the same monster that goes about destroying everything just because I wanted to. But that hasn't changed much. After all, I was created just to bring chaos to the worlds and become more powerful over time. And now I feel that this weak world has become much more powerful than at that time when I ended up being defeated by that Son Goku guy. But regardless of that, the more power they have, the more powerful I will become when I absorb them all," Kid Buu said, with an evil smile on his face as he remembered the past in which he was defeated. Kid Buu didn't seem to care much about that. Kid Buu said, "I'm hungry, and apparently there are some beings on that island full of those structures that must be buildings, I think. It's been a while since I've eaten and I'm hungry, so it's time to eat," said Kid Buu before flying at high speed towards a nearby island, arriving there in just a few minutes. Upon arriving in the city, Kid Buu looked at the city below him and noticed that a party was taking place. The city was full of people who were enjoying the party. Seeing the number of people in that place, the humanoid creature with a pink body began to smile, seeing the people he could use to feed on, and even absorb to become stronger, and thus be able to face the warriors again just like in the past. Kid Buu said, "It's time to eat and strengthen myself by absorbing all these beings. From the most powerful to the weakest, they will become chocolates and other delicious sweets," said Kid Buu as he smiled, looking at all the beings below him. Kid Buu concentrated a little and began to create a pink-colored key sphere in his hand that was pointed towards the sky. The sphere gradually began to grow, emitting a pink glow throughout the place, which ended up attracting the attention of most of the people in the city who, when they looked at the sky, saw the large sphere of energy growing in the sky. But as it was a day of celebration, everyone thought that everything that was happening was part of the event, like the fireworks that had been announced a few days ago. And with that, everyone started to smile and shout excitedly about it, which made Kid Buu smile even bigger, seeing that people were excited about what he was doing even though they didn't know what would happen in the end. Kid Buu said, "Humans, this race is truly the most incompetent race I've ever had the displeasure of meeting in my thousands of years. But that doesn't matter. For me, that's actually a good thing after all. That way they can become good sweets," said Kid Buu, stopping making the energy sphere. The sphere gradually began to float until it reached the top of a large building that was above the clouds, and upon reaching there, the sphere began to get smaller until it shone brightly and exploded, generating thousands of fragments that flew at high speed towards the people. When they saw this, they were scared and started to run for their lives. But it was too late, as those small spheres of keys started to hit each of them, causing a bright pink aura to surround them and transform them into chocolate and different types of sweets. And a few ended up not being turned into sweets, which left them a little relieved, but soon they felt something touch their bodies, and then they turned into a type of gum. And when that happened, they started to fly and went to Kid Buu, who just opened his arms, and those things were absorbed by Kid Buu, generating an almost insignificant increase in power for him, which disappointed him, but not so much because Kid Buu already knew that humans were very weak.
Guys, before continuing this epic story, leave your like, and of course, if you want to help the channel, leave your super thanks below and help the channel financially, and also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news.
Kid Buu said, "How disappointing, but I didn't expect my power to increase by absorbing these weak humans who are as weak as ants, but it was better than nothing," said Kid Buu before raising his arm, making all the humans transformed into candy start to float and come towards him. And when he did that, he just opened his mouth and all the candy entered his mouth and Kid Buu swallowed them all at once. Kid Buu said, "Delicious. It's been a really long time since I've eaten these delicious sweets. At least that's what humans are for. Now it's time to go after something more powerful, and that should have a lot of information about the last few years I was away recovering," said Kid Buu, looking at a direction in the sky where there was a large temple above the clouds that he knew very well because it was in this temple thousands of years ago that Kid Buu was in his Super Buu form. Kid Buu raised some of his power and started flying at high speed towards the temple on top of the clouds, and when he was approaching the temple, he ended up seeing several key spheres heading towards him, which made Kid Buu surprised, but he managed to be fast enough to dodge the attacks where some almost hit him, while others he ended up destroying by firing his own key attacks, making them collide with those attacks and explode with their shock. After dodging and destroying Key's attacks, Kid Buu arrived at the temple, but when he stepped on it, he ended up receiving a blow that threw him back, and when he saw who hit him, Kid Buu came across a chubby, completely black humanoid being, this being the Lord Popo, the guardian of the Temple of Heaven. Mr. Popo said, "So you're still alive even after receiving a Genki Dama created by Son Goku. Your regeneration abilities are really impressive, and even though it took a few years, it's impressive to see you here in front of me, even more so in this temple where you were almost trapped in the time room. Apparently I was right in spending the last few years training to be able to face someone like you," said Mr. Popo while looking at Kid Buu, who ended up giving a sinister laugh when he saw that the being in front of him was much more interesting than in the past. Kid Buu said, "Excellent. I was really wanting to face someone more powerful, and you are enough to get me excited, and unlike everyone else I absorbed a short time ago, you do have a power big enough for me to consider it a good power increase, so don't let me down like others," said Kid Buu with an evil smile on his face as he released his energy that generated a pink aura around him, and Mr. Popo did the same thing, generating a dark aura around his body. At that moment, Kid Buu was staring at Mr. Popo with an evil smile on his lips, because he knew that the one in front of him was minimally powerful and could give him an interesting fight, and if not, he would at least provide Kid Buu with a good amount of power after absorbing Mr. Popo, and along with that some of his powers that Kid Buu knew that being possessed, and that could be very useful for him in the future. Mr. Popo thought, "I know I spent the last few years training in the time room and honing my skills so that I could at least protect myself and the celestial platform from weaker beings, while the Z warriors faced enemies more powerful and dangerous enough to bring the destruction of this planet. But I still don't know if my strength is enough to defeat this evil being, but I can at least raise my power to the maximum so that one of them can feel my power and come here to help me. And in the best case scenario, Son Goku himself could appear, and if that happens, he could destroy this evil being once and for all," thought Mr. Popo as he raised his energy more to try to attract the attention of someone more powerful like one of the Z warriors. Kid Buu said, "You're raising your energy too much for someone who is starting combat against someone more powerful, and no one would raise that much energy right away, which means you're wanting to raise your own energy just to attract someone else's attention. And I would say you are just doing this to attract the attention of someone stronger than me so you can defeat me. I admit it's a smart plan when you're weak, but it's a shame I won't let you complete your plan," Kid Buu said before raising his energy and making his aura spread across the celestial platform, thus creating a barrier around the entire place, preventing Kid Buu or Mr. Popo's energy from leaking, so no one would be able to feel the power from both. Mr. Popo thought, "Damn, with this all my plans became useless, so the only way I can get someone to come help me is if someone has already felt my energy before. If not, I will have to manage in some way to escape from here or defeat him, even though I believe I won't be able to defeat Kid Buu, but either I do it or I'll be absorbed by him," thought Mr. Popo as he looked at Kid Buu, who was smiling evilly at him, which left him somewhat afraid of the being in front of him. Before starting the battle against Kid Buu, Mr. Popo had an idea. He took a deep breath and headed towards the door of the time room. When he saw that Kid Buu was heading towards him, the two ended up entering the time room. However, Kid Buu was tricked by Mr. Popo's abilities, as only Kid Buu entered the room. Soon after, the door to the time room was closed and locked. When this happened, Mr. Popo ended up using his abilities to seal the time room, but suddenly the entire celestial platform began to shake, which made Mr. Popo fall to the ground, as he was already very weak after having having used practically all of his energy to seal the time room. Suddenly, Mr. Popo ended up seeing Kid Boo's fist passing through the floor of the celestial platform. At that moment, Kid Boo came out of a portal that he had made with that blow. Kid Boo said, "This won't work as well as in the past. Now it's time to get stronger," Kid Boo said before suddenly appearing in front of Mr. Popo. And before he could react, Kid Boo hugged him to absorb him. Then his body began to expand, making him take on a new appearance. His appearance was all dark, and his smile was more evil. This is now Kid Boo's new transformation. Kid Boo said, "I'm glad my plan worked. Now I will go after all the beings of all the universes and bring chaos to them. After all, I was born to bring chaos to all existence, and that's what I will do," Kid Boo said before shouting loudly, creating a portal which he entered. But without knowing, Kid Boo went to the past in a new alternate timeline. Kid Boo thought, "What did I do? How did I end up here in this alternate timeline? Since I'm here, I'll look for powerful beings so I can absorb them and become more powerful so that I can face any being in my original timeline, since this appears to be a timeline from an alternate future or past. But for me, all of this was much better because this way I have two great meals, since they seem to have no knowledge about me. And since I'm weak in their eyes, they'll underestimate me like everyone does when they see my appearance. And after I defeat them in battle, I'll be able to absorb them and become stronger." Kid Boo thought to himself as he discreetly looked at the two beings in front of him who seemed to be analyzing him from top to bottom as if they were judging the level of threat that Kid Boo would pose to them. And Goku Black and Zamasu came to the conclusion that that being was weak and didn't need to worry. Zamasu said, "This being does not appear to be on the side of the humans, but his energy and power are great compared to all these human worms, except for that Trunks who is a Saiyan, but that aura around him is a very evil aura, so maybe he is a demon or some creature created using evil energy. This being is strong and could be a danger to us in the future if he stays alive for many years." Zamasu said to his companion, who had the appearance of Son Goku, who seemed not to be so worried about Kid Boo, who remained staring at Son Goku until that moment. But suddenly Kid Boo's head was exploded by a ki attack made by Son Goku's evil doppelganger. Goku Black said, "This being is nothing special even though he has a high regeneration speed, that's all he has. He's only strong by human standards, and maybe this being is strong for that Trunks. But for both of us, he's a weak being, and even though he has good regeneration, he's not immortal like you, and he doesn't have my strength and my transformations, which make me even more powerful than any divine being. After all, we've eliminated practically all of them, and those who are still alive are hiding from us. If the gods are afraid of us, imagine the evil beings and demons. They know we're powerful and wouldn't be idiots enough to ally themselves with humans. This one here must have gotten lost from his group, or came to Earth by accident, or was summoned. But regardless, he's too weak for us," said Goku Black as he looked at his companion Zamasu, and then looked at Kid Boo, who was regenerating his head, which had been blown off by Goku Black's previous attack. Zamasu said, "Maybe you're right, he really doesn't seem to be that powerful, but his regeneration is as good as mine or maybe a little better compared to mine. If he was someone really powerful, we would meet him because I got a lot of information about people or creatures that could be capable of facing us or maybe defeating us. And this one wasn't on my list of possible beings capable of defeating us, so some human ended up doing a summoning ritual and he ended up coming to Earth, but it's nothing too serious for us." Zamasu said as he stared at Kid Boo with clear disdain on his face. Kid Boo was still regenerating from the last attack he had received. Kid Boo thought, "As expected, they are so strong that I see myself as a mere worm in front of them, and that is excellent for me. I just need to make them lower their guard, and with that I will be able to absorb them. My first target will be that green being." He said that he also has regenerative abilities, and if I absorb him, I will be able to increase my regenerative abilities even more. Even these powerful attacks will be nothing compared to my regeneration speed, Kid Boo thought as he finished recovering and discreetly used his powers to control several rocks that were underwater. Kid Boo raised his hands and pointed at his two opponents who were looking at him. It didn't take long for Goku Black to look down and dodge the rocks that were coming towards him with great ease. Zamasu didn't even care about those attacks that caused him slight injuries because of Kid Boo's energy that was in them. When all the stones passed by them, the two faced Kid Boo, who was smiling, and when Goku Black and Zamasu realized there were several fragments of very small stones around them, and before they could act, all the fragments ended up exploding, generating a large explosion that would be similar to a nuclear bomb for humans. After that explosion, it was possible to see Kid Boo far from the place where the explosion had happened. It was possible to see that Kid Boo Buu had a small smile on his face, but suddenly he saw an energy blade coming towards him, and upon seeing that, Kid Buu tried to dodge and even managed to do so. But when he looked again, he saw several energy cuts coming towards him, and with that he was unable to dodge and was cut into thousands of pieces. Then Zamasu appeared in front of Kid Buu and used a key attack on his pieces, disintegrating him completely. Then Zamasu shook his hand that was regenerating because of Kid Buu's attack. Zamasu said it was a mistake to think he was that weak. Even the weakest and most useless beings can be dangerous if not taken seriously, and we talked and gave him time to think of a plan to defeat us, and that attack was very dangerous. If that being had been a little stronger, it would have been more dangerous for us. Let's be smarter from now on, or we will be defeated or sealed by one of those beings that we despise so much, and that would be a great shame for us, Zamasu said, cleaning his clothes of the last fragments of Kid Buu. Goku Black soon approached and noticed that there were also fragments of Kid Buu's body on his clothes, which surprised him. Goku Black said he was weak, and regardless of our carelessness, I think there should be no one capable of defeating us at this moment, and this little demon will not change that. Now that I remember, this being is the same one that Goku defeated in the past. If I remember correctly, this is the complete evil form of that being called Majin Buu, and if I remember correctly, this being was called Kid Buu, said Goku Black as he remembered the past through Son Goku's memories. When he remembered this, he looked at the fragments of Kid Buu that were in his clothes and tried to remove them, but they gained a life of their own and entered the clothes of Goku Black and Zamasu. Goku Black and Zamasu ripped off their clothes to try to destroy the rest of Kid Buu's fragments, but when they least expected it, the rest of the fragments that were scattered went to the two and began to absorb them both at the same time. Even though Goku Black and Zamasu tried to destroy Kid Buu's fragments, the fragments always recovered, and when they had taken over a large part of the bodies of the two beings, the two parts of Kid Buu joined together, and suddenly a pillar of energy rose into the sky, and in the center of it was Kid Buu with his power millions of times greater than before. Kid Buu was now using his newest transformation, his clothes, which were the combination of Zamasu's and Goku Black's clothes, and his face was also slightly different. In the 7th universe. Currently in the future timeline of the 7th universe, more precisely above the sea, it was possible to see Kid Buu with a large dark pink aura around him. This aura was so large that it illuminated a large part of the place where Kid Buu was, and now he was using the combined clothes of the last two beings he absorbed. Goku Black and Zamasu had become a part of Kid Buu, who was now stronger than ever. Kid Buu said, "In the past, I felt that I was very powerful and a true deity who walked among mortals and had a master who, despite not being very powerful, was incredibly intelligent to the point of being able to create me using his powers. But this power that I feel running through my body is unbelievable. This is the power of a true deity of chaos," said Kid Buu before raising his power even more, causing all the water below him to evaporate, and the ground below all the water to crack, and even the sky full of clouds ended up changing, generating a storm of pink lightning. Kid Buu said, "This power is really incredible, but it's always possible to improve what is already very good, and for that I need powerful beings. I need to go after those Saiyans and absorb them to become even more powerful. After all, these Saiyans are really powerful, and this Goku Black only became really powerful because he stole the body of the original Son Goku, and if I absorb him along with Vegeta, I will become so powerful that not even Beerus, the god of destruction of the 7th universe, will be able to defeat me," said Kid Buu before giving an evil laugh, just thinking about everything he would do if he managed to defeat all his opponents and absorb them, becoming even more powerful. Kid Buu stretched out his hand and made his aura gather in that place, and when he squeezed that energy aura, it ended up taking the form of a scythe, identical to Goku Black's scythe. And when he made the scythe, Kid Buu concentrated and turned his body, swinging the scythe with force, making an energy cut that was so powerful that it ended up cutting even the very fabric of space-time, thus creating a new portal to the past. Seeing that portal, Kid Buu started to enter it, but ended up remembering the portal he used to get to that timeline, and with that Kid Buu created a small sphere of ki and shot towards the island where the portal was, and then he laughed and entered the portal that ended up closing the moment Kid Buu crossed it. When the ki sphere touched the ground of the island, ended up generating a huge explosion. An explosion that not only destroyed the island, but also ended up generating thousands of natural disasters throughout the planet that ended up being destroyed in a matter of minutes. The planet Earth ended up being destroyed after the core of the planet went into great chaos. Original timeline. In the middle of one of the big cities, it was possible to see that in the middle of the street, a portal had appeared, attracting the attention of everyone around, who saw a being coming out of the portal. This being was Kid Buu, who was still holding his energy scythe, resting it on his shoulder. Kid Buu thought, Beerus, the god of destruction of this universe, is not on planet Earth right now, so I better make sure he doesn't get in my way while I fight those two Saiyans. Kid Buu thought before firing an energy sphere towards the sky that went to the entrance of the planet and exploded, forming a barrier around the entire planet, preventing any being from feeling the energy of whoever was inside the planet, and whoever was inside would not be able to leave. Kid Buu, seeing the amount of people looking at him, swung his scythe, generating several energy blades that destroyed everything around him, completely eliminating several people and destroying several buildings around Kid Buu while releasing his energy in an attempt to attract his two targets. A method that proved to be useful because it didn't take long for Son Goku and Vegeta to appear at the scene, where both were surprised to see Kid Buu even more powerful than in the past. Goku said, "Vegeta, isn't that the evil version of Majin Buu that we faced in the past and that I eliminated using the Genki Dama? Because if so, then why is he so powerful?" said Goku before assuming a combat stance, just as Vegeta got into a combat stance. Vegeta said, "It's him, Kakarot. I don't know why he's so powerful like this, but it's him without a doubt. But these clothes and this scythe are the same ones that Black wore, and these clothes were the same ones that Zamasu wore when he joined forces with Black, becoming more powerful, and apparently Kid Buu managed to absorb both of them or their fusion somehow," said Vegeta, already in combat stance, ready to fight Kid Buu. Upon seeing the two Saiyans, he ended up smiling. Kid Buu simply turned to them and then swung his scythe, generating several energy cuts that went at high speed towards them, but they all ended up missing their target because the Saiyans managed to dodge them, and when they looked back, they saw a large trail of destruction caused by the energy cuts from Kid Buu's attacks. Goku and Vegeta, without hesitation, transformed into Super Saiyans and advanced towards Kid Buu, who smiled insanely before doing the same thing. The moment the three were face to face, the Saiyans began to attack Kid Buu in perfect synchrony, but Kid Buu was now much more agile, managing to defend himself and dodge the blows of the two. When he saw an opening, he took advantage and landed a kick on Goku, who ended up being thrown against a building that fell on top of him. Kid Buu ended up receiving a punch from Vegeta that made him be thrown back, but even so, Kid Buu managed to fire several blows towards Vegeta, who transformed into Super Saiyan Blue and generated an aura around him in which he received all the energy attacks head on. However, these attacks were completely useless against Vegeta. Vegeta, using his speed, appeared in front of Kid Buu, who tried to hit him using his scythe, but Vegeta held the scythe, and using his power of destruction, he ended up destroying the scythe and activating the power of Ultra Ego. And before Kid Buu could react, he ended up receiving a punch that sank him to the ground and then began to receive several violent blows from Vegeta, who only stopped when Kid Buu generated an explosion of energy that made Vegeta move away at high speed. But in midair, Vegeta felt his shoulder being held by Goku, who was now using the power of Ultra Instinct. Side by side, Goku and Vegeta assumed their combat stance again in order to end it quickly, but suddenly the two fell to their knees when they felt their energy being drained suddenly. Goku and Vegeta looked at their shoulders and ended up seeing golden chains wrapped around them that went to their hands. Kid Buu, who managed to get up without any injuries because he had completely regenerated, did not think for a second before advancing against the two Saiyans, who received a punch in their stomachs. This punch was strong enough to throw the two Saiyans towards the sky, and then Kid Buu created a new key scythe and fired several blows in the direction of the two Saiyans, which generated several explosions, causing a lot of damage to the two, who then felt their legs being held by Kid Buu's arms, who stretched them and turned his body, causing the two Saiyans to crash into all the buildings that were in that city. And after that, Kid Buu pulled them with force, throwing them against the ground, generating a large crater with the impact. Goku, even with some difficulty, looked at Vegeta and then threw one of the Potara earrings at him. Since he was weak because of the chains that were sealing his powers, he didn't even deny the fusion. Vegeta just took the earring and put it on, just like Goku. Then their bodies started to shine and merge, becoming Vegito. Vegito stood up and used the power of Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct at the same time, which made him extremely powerful. Then Vegito advanced towards Kid Buu, who put away his scythe and advanced towards him. They soon began to exchange powerful and fast blows. Vegito was very surprised to see that Kid Buu was able to compare to him in terms of strength, but Vegito realized that the golden chains were still present in his body and were transferring their power to Kid Buu. Kid Buu at one point ended up punching Vegito in the face, who recovered quickly, but not fast enough to dodge an attack from Kid Buu that ended up lightly cutting his eyes, which was enough to take away Vegito's vision, who then used his teleportation technique to appear behind Kid Buu and hold him from behind. Then Vegito concentrated his energy and made an energy explosion in his own body in an attempt to eliminate Kid Buu. Thanks to the energy explosion, a large amount of energy was dispersed. Vegito ended up gasping for breath due to that battle in which he was forced to use a large amount of energy, something he was not expecting to have to do, much less be so weak at that moment, since he concentrated a good part of his energy in that attack that ended up destroying the entire city below them. But this was necessary for Kid Buu to be defeated. But suddenly Vegito's chest ended up being pierced by a key scythe created by Kid Buu that had a good part of his body destroyed. Kid Buu was regenerating at high speed, and it was a matter of seconds before he was whole again. Kid Buu was quick and undid the scythe that pierced Vegito and exploded, generating several fragments of his body that went to Vegito, who was trying to get out of that situation. But because he was weak, he ended up regressing to his base form, and when he realized it, Kid Buu had already managed to consume almost his entire body, and in a few minutes Kid Buu rebuilt himself, now using the same clothes as Vegito, and his power was even greater by absorbing the fusion of the two Saiyans, and unlike in the past, there was no way for them to return or expel Kid Buu from their body. In the 7th universe. Currently in the 7th universe, more precisely in a wooden house on top of a mountain, it was possible to see Kid Buu sitting in a chair while drinking tea calmly without caring about anything around him, as there was no being that could threaten him because planet Earth still had a barrier around it and no being outside the planet knew what was happening inside. Planet Earth was invisible and undetectable until Kid Buu decided to undo the barrier, or someone went to planet Earth and destroyed the barrier from the outside, but none of that had happened until that moment. Kid Buu said, "Now I should be ready to face the god of destruction of this universe, and with the level of power I have now, my chances of being defeated are low since the most powerful warriors in this world have already been absorbed by me," said Kid Buu before finishing drinking his tea and getting up and flying towards the Capsule Corporation. But before that, Kid Buu looked at the house he was in and saw a family trembling with fear, and without mercy, he fired a Kai attack at the place, eliminating the house and that family. After eliminating that innocent family, Kid Buu flew until he reached the Capsule Corporation that was now completely destroyed, and all that was left were the ruins of that building that was once a place of union of the Z Warriors, and also the place where many of them lost their lives at the hands of Kid Buu. Upon arriving at the place, Kid Buu landed on top of the building and then raised his hand and pointed one of his fingers to the sky, and from it came a beam of energy that rose until it reached the barrier that was around the planet, and at the moment that happened, the barrier fell apart and broke into thousands of pieces. Kid Buu said, "Now I just have to wait for the arrival of that god of destruction and his angel so that I can face the god of destruction and then absorb him. I would even like to absorb the angel himself, who, if I'm not mistaken, is called Whis, but I know that I won't be able to absorb him regardless of how powerful I become. But at least the angel won't attack me, since angels can't interfere in the lives of mortals, and the only thing he will be able to do is see me face that god of destruction. And then I will take the position of God of Destruction. After all, I am the most powerful in this universe, and after I absorb that God of Destruction, I will be the most powerful in all the universes," said Kid Buu with a big evil smile on his face, just thinking about how powerful he would become after absorbing the god of destruction of his universe. After destroying the barrier that surrounded planet Earth, Kid Buu began to release his energy on a large scale, causing natural disasters all over planet Earth. Everything he was doing was just to attract the attention of the god of destruction, which turned out to be a good plan because it didn't take long for a pillar of energy to appear in front of the Capsule Corporation. And from that pillar, Beerus and Whis emerged, who, upon seeing the place completely destroyed, both ended up sighing and feeling slightly sad for their friends. Beerus said, "It seems that planet Earth was attacked, and I would say that the one responsible for all of this was you, right?" Beerus asked, looking at Kid Buu, who kept a smile on his face as he looked at Beerus. Kid Buu said, Yes, I am responsible for the elimination of all your mortal friends, and I must thank you too for visiting this planet years ago and helping the warriors of this world to become more powerful and overcome their limits, because thanks to that I am now thousands of times more powerful. So I thank you both immensely, my dear friends. Kid Buu said in a mocking tone while looking at Beerus, who had a certain seriousness on his face. Whis said, "Your energy and those clothes of yours. You are the evil version of Majin Buu who had been defeated by Mr. Goku in the past, but apparently you managed to return and ended up using your ability to absorb living beings to absorb the most powerful beings on planet Earth, including Goku and Vegeta, who should be using the fusion with the Potara earrings, and judging by the fact that I am not able to feel the energy of any of the warriors who were friends of Mr. Goku, you must have also absorbed the powers and abilities of those warriors," Whis said as he looked around and felt the energy of all the living beings that were on planet Earth, and there was none of them that was one of the Z Warriors or one of Son Goku's friends. Kid Buu said, "My original plan was to just absorb Son Goku and Vegeta, but the rest of them decided to come after me to get revenge for me having eliminated those two Saiyans, so I had to defeat the Z Warriors, and I ended up absorbing the strongest ones so as not to waste anything," Kid Buu said before starting to warm up, doing the same warm-up that Goku did before entering an exciting battle, something that Beerus recognized as well as Whis, who sighed and began to float away from Beerus before the inevitable battle between them began. Beerus stared at Kid Buu for a few minutes before his aura of destruction began to emanate, and upon seeing that, Kid Buu began to do the same thing, and suddenly the two disappeared and reappeared in front of each other, exchanging punches that ended up colliding, generating a large shockwave that was followed by others. The two began an exchange of violent and fast blows that increased with each punch, which was generating earthquakes throughout the planet that entered a state of complete chaos until the planet itself could not withstand the magnitude of the attacks of those two and ended up exploding, bringing the end of all living beings on planet Earth. Now in space, it was possible to see two beams of energy flying at high speed through space while colliding with extreme violence. Kid Buu, who was fighting using only his fists, created a key scythe that combined both his evil energy and the energy of destruction that he absorbed from Vegeta. With that, his scythe would be one of the most deadly weapons in the entire universe. With a single swing of it, he ended up cutting the moon in half, which was disintegrated thanks to the energy of destruction that was in the scythe. Beerus, seeing this, increased his power even more and generated several spheres of ki of destruction and fired them at Kid Buu, who began to cut all the spheres with ease. But all of that was a plan by Beerus, who raised one of his fingers and generated a ki attack twice as big and several times hotter and more powerful than the sun, and then threw it at Kid Buu, who upon seeing the attack ended up making his scythe bigger, and with one blow, Kid Buu managed to cut Beerus's attack, which generated an arrogant smile on Kid Buu's face, who smiled almost instantly when he saw Beerus's fist imbued with the energy of destruction inches from his face. Even though he tried to move away, Kid Buu wasn't fast enough and ended up receiving the blow, which was so powerful that he ended up being thrown against the planet Jupiter with half of his face destroyed. Beerus said, "I haven't used this in millennia, so don't disappoint me," Beerus shouted before raising his power even further, assuming his true form as the god of destruction, becoming very similar to the form Toppo used during the Tournament of Power, except that Beerus now had reddish fur on his body. Kid Buu, even though he was thousands of kilometers away from Beerus, was able to hear what he said and see the large beam of energy created by Beerus's transformation. Not wanting to disappoint the god of destruction, Kid Buu released 100% of his full power. The two beings stared at each other from a distance before both disappearing and reappearing in front of each other, clashing their fists, which caused all reality around them to shatter. However, the force of the clash between the two had been so powerful that not only one reality was shattered, but thousands of realities ended up colliding to the point that the two beings ended up stopping in a reality where nothing existed beyond them. The two separated for a moment before advancing against each other again and starting a short battle in the distance, where Kid Buu and Beerus exchanged blows at extreme speed. The two no longer cared about defense and only about their attacks, which were extremely violent. Beerus's blows were able to destroy Kid Buu's body, which was not able to regenerate so quickly because of the energy of destruction that was slowing down his regeneration. Kid Buu was able to attack Beerus at great speed, generating several bruises on him and even some injuries that were making the god of destruction bleed. In a moment of carelessness, Beerus ended up weakening, which gave Kid Buu the opportunity to tear off a piece of himself and throw it inside Beerus, who ended up accidentally swallowing it. Then Kid Buu hugged Beerus, who, upon seeing what he was going to do, began to release his energy of destruction to destroy Kid Buu's body. But at that moment, Kid Buu released his own energy of destruction, which was cancelling out Beerus's energy. But suddenly Beerus felt his heart stop for a moment, which made him lose his concentration. Kid Buu took advantage of this and covered Beerus's entire body, absorbing him completely. With that, Kid Buu's power increased even more, and his clothes were now the same as Beerus's before. Super Kid Buu said, "I think it's over now. I'm the most powerful being in the entire universe. Ha ha ha." Guys, with that, we end our story for today. What did you think? Did you like it? It seems that Kid Buu managed to complete his mission and destroy everything. He did something that no other villain was able to do. If you liked the video, leave a like and also subscribe to the channel.